Hi, everybody. Welcome to our parent information training. Today we have Britt Doerner here, and she is going to talk about mental health and autism spectrum disorder. So take it away, Britt.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So hi, everyone. Again, I'm Britt Doerner. I'm a social worker here at Heartspring. I've been here for about a year. I'm really happy to be here. So I'm also really thankful for this opportunity to be able to talk with you guys today about mental health and autism. I do want to say before I start that some of the content of this presentation can be heavy. It can be really heavy to, it can bring up some emotions and things like that for individuals. We want to support everyone here at Heartspring. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there that if you feel, a lot of emotions come up, feel free to pause, just take some time. If you need to do that. So, I'm excited to be here. So yeah, thank you. All right. So what's this all about? First, we're going to go over an overview of autism. Then we'll discuss some information and statistics on how mental health and autism play a role in each other in the lives of the individual who experiences autism, the parent or guardian of the individual who experiences autism, and the siblings of the individual who experiences autism. Then we'll talk about adverse childhood experiences. And followed by that, we will have positive childhood experiences that we will discuss, and then resilience. Then we'll talk about self-care, and I have some resources and supports for you guys as well. All right, so a brief overview of autism. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder struggle with social communication. They may have difficulty understanding and relaying spoken language, facial expressions, tones of voice, gesture, sarcasm, and maintaining eye contact. Some individuals have difficulty recognizing the intentions of others. They may have difficulty reading emotions in others and seeking emotional comfort. And just kind of that, taking turns in conversations can be challenging. Individuals with autism also experience, repetitive behaviors or stereotype behaviors. This may look like body movements such as rocking, flapping, and spinning. It may be repetitive also in the way that they handle objects, like they may spin objects, shake objects, or flip objects. Individuals with autism may also line up their toys or line up objects instead of playing with them as they're intended. They also may repeatedly touch objects and things like that. They also may insist on the sameness, maybe in their routine or a route to the store. And then some individuals with autism have a strong attachment or interest in specific topics or objects. It's usually extreme in nature, like they may insist on bringing their favorite pillow everywhere, or they may really have an attachment towards, just kind of objects that you don't typically see. They just really, really like certain objects. And they may have an intense interest in buses or something like that. So they may learn everything there is to know about buses. Individuals who experience autism also may experience sensory challenges as well. They may be overly reactive or underreactive to sensory inputs, anything that deals with the senses, hearing, sight, taste, smell, touch. They may be sensitive to lights and sounds, while others may not notice lights or bright lights or loud sounds. Symptoms of autism are typically present in the early developmental period. And they also, this can be between the ages of 1 and 3, where you may see signs, and sometimes earlier. Autism causes impairment in social, occupational, and other current areas of functioning. So, yeah. All right. Kind of continuing on with our overview of autism. A lot of parents come to me, or behavioral health in general, when they see challenging behaviors. Sometimes you'll see hitting, kicking, biting. They may be hyperactive. They might have self-injurious behavior as well, such as banging or hitting their head. and biting their hands or fingers. Okay, now we can talk about autism and mental health within the family. We'll discuss some information and statistics on, how it plays a role in the individual with autism, parent or guardian of the individual with autism, and the siblings of the children or of the person with autism. So with the individual, according to Autism Speaks, which has a lot of wonderful information, if you have time to go to the website, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, affects an estimated 30 to 61% of children with autism. Anxiety disorders actually affect an estimated 11 to 40% of children and teens with autism. And depression affects an estimated 7% of children and 26% of adults with autism. Then we talk about adverse childhood experiences. Recently, research has discovered that trauma and adverse childhood experiences are more likely to occur in children with autism than in your neurotypical peers. Dr. Yamaoka and Dr. David Bard reported in 2019 that the number of adverse childhood experiences was associated with both social emotional deficits and developmental delay risks in early childhood. We talk about parents. I know a lot of you probably feel a lot, some of these, if not a lot of them at times. You may feel overwhelmed. It's hard to be a parent, it's really hard. And, when we had added challenges with our kiddos, it just can really kind of increase that stress. So, parents report, decreased parenting effectiveness. We may have, some difficulty when we're feeling overwhelmed using those skills that we, need to have, to feel like we can parent effectively. And then there may be an increase in physical health problems, mental health problems. Parents report challenges with mental health problems. And then with the core features of ASD, autism, along with aggression, elopement, self-injury, suicidal ideation, with like thoughts of suicide, can cause significant parental distress. Some of the mental health problems that parents will present with are depression, anxiety, anger, and maybe hostility. And they may also experience somatization, where they kind of take on the stress and it manifests in their body as physical symptoms. That's kind of what that is. So it's just that mind-body connection. Siblings may have responsibilities at home that are expected above their developmental age or stage. They may also feel like they need to protect their sibling with autism. And interactions with their sibling with autism, they may be exposed to aggression and unpredictable behaviors, some of those challenging behaviors we talked about before. They may also feel, studies have shown that they've reported feeling upset, discomfort, shame, embarrassment, anger, fear, social isolation, concern, and feeling burnt out. As far as their interactions with others, they may feel anger, frustration, upset, hurt, embarrassment, if they hear others make negative comments about their sibling with autism. It can be really troubling. And then as far as experiences of coping, they may develop unhealthy coping mechanisms. There may be a fear of physical violence, and they have reported feeling like they need to retreat or self-isolate from the rest of the family. Now we can talk about adverse childhood experiences. So learning about adverse childhood experiences helps us understand why we behave the way we do. And it helps us also understand that our coping behavior is normal. It's typical, a normal response to abnormal circumstances. Learning about positive childhood experiences provides direction to heal. The key concept about this is that learning about both together can help us improve our health and well-being, and it gives us hope. All right, so the adverse childhood experiences study actually originated as a public health study in San Diego. This was at an obesity clinic. This portion of the presentation is a little heavy. I want to kind of just put that trigger warning out there. He actually came across the adverse childhood experiences on accident. It originated in the obesity clinic. So it had Dr. Folletti had a program where individuals could enter the program, and it was geared towards individuals who were 100 to 600 pounds overweight, but anybody could enter the program who wanted to lose weight. The program was very successful. People came in, they lost weight, they were very happy with that. And then Dr. Folletti noticed in a 5-year period that individuals were dropping out of the program, and they were actually dropping out when they had a good momentum going for losing weight. So he was really kind of taken back by this. He didn't understand why people were dropping out of the program when they were making so much momentum. So he started looking through medical records and began interviewing those in the program. And he actually, this is where he came across, by accident, he was actually interviewing a woman. And one of the questions he would ask people is, what age were you when you were first sexually active? And with this woman, he accidentally asked her, at what weight was she at when she was first sexually active? And so he was kind of, like, oh, I just asked the wrong question. And he was there was a very disturbing revelation. The woman actually replied, I was 40 pounds. I was actually 4 years old. And the woman had been sexually abused. So this obviously was very disturbing. Dr. Folletti was very taken back by this. And he would come to find out that individuals were utilizing food and had gained weight to cope with the trauma they had faced through sexual abuse and other traumas. He would later find out. Dr. Folletti met with Dr. David Williamson and Dr. Robert Anda with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, so the CDC. Dr. Anda had been studying how depression and feelings of hopelessness affect coronary heart disease. So they got together and they were like, I'm finding, individuals in my program. He was making those revelations about weight and, trauma and things like that others had experienced. So they knew they needed to do a bigger study. So they decided to do a mega study. This is actually the study that was the Adverse Childhood Experiences study. They decided to do this at Kaiser Permanente. They had 17,421 participants, and they were hoping to find out a lot more information regarding physical and mental health and childhood trauma. So they knew that they could get thousands and thousands of participants through this place. So it was conducted between 1995 and 1997, and they came up with a total of 10 types of adverse childhood experiences. Participants were actually followed for a subsequent additional 15 years to gain more information and things like that. So yeah, so the 10 types of childhood adversities they came up with, these came from when they were interviewing individuals. These were the top 10 traumas or experiences that individuals were reporting. So this is what they decided to use originally in their study. So physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, physical, emotional neglect, and the five types of household dysfunction. So incarcerated relative, divorce, mother treated violently, substance abuse, and mental illness within the family. The ACE surveys have actually expanded to include racism, gender discrimination, witnessing a sibling being abused, witnessing violence outside of the home, witnessing a father being abused by a mother, being bullied by a peer or adult, involvement with the foster care system, living in a war zone, living in an unsafe neighborhood, and losing a family member to deportation, and etc. They had others. And they're, continually looking over this to see, what causes trauma, what are people experiencing in their lives. So this is actually the test that they came up with. These are the 10 questions. And you can kind of look over this. I'll give you a little bit just to kind of look over this. You're welcome to pause and actually take the test. This will actually give you your ACE score. Yeah, it's really, really great information to have. So as you'll see, it includes those 10 adverse childhood experiences. And so at the end of it, you just add up your number of yeses, and that's your ACE score. So here's the actual test. Okay, so then adverse childhood experience results. So Dr. Anda was actually, it was just more and more disturbing revelations that came about from the study. It's probably one of the most important studies of our time. It's been very, very monumental in learning about trauma, learning about how trauma plays a role in so many aspects of our lives. And Dr. Anda was so, just taken back by the results that he said, I wept. I saw how much people had suffered and I wept. The results actually showed that there's a direct link between childhood trauma and the adult onset of chronic diseases. There's also a direct link between mental illness, doing time in prison, and work issues such as absenteeism. 2/3 of adults in the study had experienced one or more types of adverse childhood experiences, and 87% had experienced 2 or more types. So out of those 17,000 people, that's a pretty large number when we talk about trauma. A lot of individuals have experienced some form of trauma in early childhood. And they also found in this study that adverse childhood experiences usually didn't happen in isolation. When one happened, there's a likelihood of another one that had happened. More adverse childhood experiences resulted in a higher risk of medical, mental, and social problems as an adult. And this is another graph of, these are just kind of how it starts with the adverse childhood experiences, and it kind of shows how, as you go through life, from conception all the way to death, you can experience trauma, and just kind of how that sort of plays out throughout life, and how it influences health and well-being. So you start out, you're born, and even before birth and in utero, babies now, we know through research that, we can experience trauma in the womb. So you have your adverse childhood experiences. And we know through research that adverse childhood experiences and trauma actually can affect the development of your brain. So when children's brains are, as you're developing through adolescence and stuff, trauma can actually physically affect the way that the brain develops. And then you move on towards, you could have social, emotional, and cognitive impairment. So start to see sort of, your mental health conditions, social conditions, things that are, the social communication, the way that you interact with others, and cognitive impairments and your disabilities. And then this could lead to adoption of health risk behaviors. So, some individuals may cope with smoking, you see binge eating, substance abuse, and things like that. Isolation, and things like that to cope with some of this, impairment and experiences that we've experienced early on. And then because of all of that, it can lead to disease, disability, social problems, and even early death. So it's pretty powerful how trauma plays a role. But moving on to a little bit brighter side, because it's a lot of heavy information. So please take a moment if you need to. I appreciate you hanging with me this far, if you're still with me. But yeah, now we'll talk about positive childhood experiences and talk about some of that resilience and things like that. In 2019, Dr. Bethel, Jennifer Jones, Dr. Gamboha, Dr. Linkenbach, and Dr. Siege actually started noticing, they wanted to know the association between positive childhood experiences and adult mental health and mental and relationship health. and with those who had experienced adverse childhood experiences or experienced trauma. So they wanted to know, how does the, trauma and adverse childhood experiences correlate with positive experiences? Because, they knew that childhood didn't just, it doesn't just have adversity, right? We have a lot of positive interactions in our childhood too. And those actually, those are important. So they have found that, like for instance, positive parenting practices, they reduce effects of adverse childhood experiences, builds connection. In a study published in 2000, let me see here. I need to move this over a little bit. Okay, 2021. Okay. In a study published in 2021, Dr. Whitaker, Dr. Darth Wesley, and Dr. Allison Herman wrote that greater childhood family connection was actually associated with greater flourishing in U.S. adults across levels of childhood adversity. These are actually just like the adverse childhood experiences test. These are actually the statements in the positive childhood experiences test or evaluation. So you can take a moment, look over these, and these are sort of your, shielding factors for adverse childhood experiences. They really help when you look back on your experience as a child and growing up. So were you able to talk to your family about your feelings? Did you feel that your family stood by you during difficult times? Did you enjoy participating in community traditions? Did you feel safe and protected by an adult in your home? Did you have at least 2 non-parent adults who took genuine interest in you? Did you feel supported by friends? And did you feel a sense of belonging in high school? So now we'll talk about resilience. So this was really fun part of researching for this presentation. I found there's a tremendous amount of resilience in families who have an individual who experiences autism. Anybody who experiences trauma or adverse childhood experiences can have a lot of resilience, and there's a lot of research that shows this. So if you have time, it's really great to read about. So when you talk about, those negative experiences, and then you have your positive supports, so those positive childhood interactions, this kind of shows, when the negative experiences outweigh the positive supports or experiences, there can be less resilience. You have a lot of things stacked against you, that doesn't mean that there's no hope. It just means that the odds are there, but, you can always increase those positive supports, and we can talk more about how to do that too later. And then when your positive supports outweigh your negative experiences, you tend to have more resilience. You have a lot of more support. You have a lot more shielding factors that help mitigate some of those experiences that were early on. And then, so some of the factors that promote resilience, social inclusion and belonging. Research, talks about, when individuals feel seen and heard by the community and their peers, it's an important factor in feeling a sense of belonging and inclusion. Some research has found that it's possible to teach resilience and coping to children with disabilities and autism by promoting them to connect with others and help them feel a sense of control over their lives. Another really important factor, obviously, would be some of that positive language around autism. This was also with, we talked about that earlier with siblings. Siblings often feel a lot of emotions when they feel, or anybody, or you're going to feel a lot of emotions when people talk negatively. So I think it's important to have positive language. And then I think also it's really important to identify personal strengths and support services. And then I just wanted to touch a little bit on resilience and how it shows up for siblings. A lot of siblings in or a study done about resilience and coping strategies found, they interviewed 22 people that were siblings, and they found that siblings were able to identify positive qualities in others. They were also able to, they experienced increased empathy for others. They developed coping skills, and they learned about compromise and helping. So I know siblings play a vital role in the family when it comes to having a sibling with autism. And it showed that in a lot of the research I read. So it was really, really fascinating. Then, okay, so some self-care and support. Research showed that an important finding from the qualitative study done by Ganani and Kirky is that making time for recreational and leisure time in their daily lives for the individual who experiences autism greatly reduces stress. Incorporating technology into their daily routine. This also kind of encourages a way for individuals to reach out to other supports, other peers. And technology is actually a really, really protective factor or a shield against stress for individuals with autism. They really are drawn to technology, really good at it too. So it's something that can be incorporated into a daily routine. I think with moderation it's important. So also I really like this one. It's acknowledging and accepting yourself exactly for who you are right now, accepting your strengths and your weaknesses. It's important for individuals who experience autism to see themselves for who they are and to accept, where their weaknesses are, where, they have strengths, and it's okay because we all have weaknesses and strengths. And so, just accepting yourself is important. And then that can be, accepting yourself exactly for who you are is a shield against mental health issues and things like that. So, identity formation, and talk about for individuals with autism and their families, integrating the meaning of their experience with autism and into their personal and social identity. Creating meaning is part of that identity formation. It's really important too. For parents and guardians, stress management and relaxation techniques were a huge part of research. Journaling, expressive writing, and things like that as well. Anything that you can do for yourself to reduce stress, take some time, take a break, walk away, things like that. The availability for social support, I think it's really important to reach out to others, and not feel alone, because you're not alone in this. There's a lot of individuals out there, a lot of other parents who are going through the same experiences. So having that social support, having access to reliable and effective family-focused services. I know here at Heartspring, we're very big on that, being family-focused and just seeing the individual as a whole and in the community. We want to provide a lot of support in that way. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of those resources later. And as far as siblings, social support was an important shield against mental health issues and things like that. So reaching out to others who are also siblings. Higher levels of social support actually correlated with higher psychosocial functioning and family involvement, feeling a sense of belonging in the family, feeling like you have an important role to play, and you do. Just having that, so knowing that. Here are some resources and support. These are some websites you can reach out to. Again, a lot of what we talked about today has been heavy. It can be really heavy to kind of learn about some of the experiences you may have had, some experiences you may be having, things like that. Suicide prevention lifelines, always there. 1-800-273-TALK, 8255. And Autism Speaks, National Institute of Mental Health, Autism Network, Autism Society, NAMI, which is for mental health, Autism Research Institute, Autism Navigator, mentalhealth.gov, all available to you on the web. These are some reading materials. These I actually got directly from aces2high.com, their website. They have a lot of really great information on adverse childhood experiences. These are some of the books and reading material that you can look up. There's Child Disrupted, How Your Biography Becomes Your Biology and How You Can Heal. The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. The Deepest Well, Healing the Long-Term Effects of Childhood Adversity. Scared Sick, The Role of Childhood Trauma in Adult Disease. Biological Embedding of Early Social Adversity. And the PubMed Childhood Adversity Research Publications. And then, of course, Heartspring, we wanted to provide some additional resources. So we have ADHD resource, chad.org. We have our care clubs and care connections. So Parent Care Connection, Heartspring has them on hold right now, but here's, additional places you can go. We have the links right here. So feel free to look them up. Supporting You, Kansas.org, Families Together, inc.org, go to parent support. You got Sibling Care Connection, which is also on hold right now, but there's a link here for an additional resource to look that up. And our care clubs that are running, we have friendship forming groups, activities and fun twice a month for 1 hour, currently full, but always accepting applications on a rolling basis. And then obviously we have our website, heartspring.org. If you go to Autism and Registration, you can register for the friendship forming groups. And then we have a teen hangout. It's a free event every third Friday of the month from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And it's for individuals 12 to 18 years of age. And you can RSVP to care@heartspring.org. And then we also have our Parents' Night Out. So respite care opportunity. It's the last Friday of every month from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And it's for individuals 2 to 12 years of age. One child is $25, 2 children is $40, and three children and up are $50. And children with intellectual developmental disabilities and siblings are welcome. So there's that for us from Heartspring. And I just want to end with a quote. The human spirit is stronger than anything that can happen to it. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. There's a lot of good information I found. You're not alone. And please know that Heartspring's here to support you in any way that we can. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to me. This is actually a number you can reach me at. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about the slideshow or the presentation, or if you want some additional information. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And this is my references.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Britt. That was jam-packed with a bunch of great stuff. I hope everybody listening and watching got some great content and information from there as well. I know I learned a lot, which is always fun. If you found this parent information training interesting, you can check out our ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy training that we have on our YouTube page as well. So check that out. Britt, thank you so much for putting effort into this. And if anybody watching or listening has a topic that they would like for us to cover, feel free to email Britt or me. She can pass it on to me. And we will do our best to meet your needs. Thank you, everyone.